Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and I have a large 10 by 10 baby album for you. This is a free tutorial. It's a step-by-step and we make this together. And the spine is about 2 3/4, and it's just so cute. And this is using the Heartfelt Creations Tender Moments paper collection. So let's take a look on the inside. Now, one thing about this is I tried to make it pretty neutral. And if you don't know if it's a girl or a boy or whatever, I recommend making this neutral, and then you can always go back and add pink accents or blue accents. And I'll get to that with some of the cut-aparts that I had left over on this that could help you do that. If you are making it for a girl, instead of using white ribbon, use pink ribbon. If you're making it for a boy, use baby blue ribbon. If it's for a girl, instead of yellow, or maybe have yellow and pink for your picture mats, or if it's a boy, baby blue and yellow, or just your baby blue. So let's get started. This is quite large. So what we have here is a side pocket. And I have a large picture mat in there and a little tag. This is magnetic and it does open up. And what we created are two like baby info sheets, and it's protected behind the plastic. And we do that together. So you can see like this, you can fill it out and then you can stick it back in here. And it's kind of a snug fit, but it goes. You just have to get it in there. And the same with this side, if you wanted to use that. So then this will open up. I'm just going to stick all this back in there. And what we have is a large layout, so you can just plant your photos. Over here we have a little fold out and another fold out. And here we have where you can slide a photo on a picture mat. It can be larger than this if you want, but we got the balloon, and the basket pretty much just holds those there. And then a large pocket behind. All right, so let's move on over here. Over here is an envelope, and it's spaced out. It's about 1/4 inch thick, and it's magnetic, but you can slide your picture mats to store your photos. And I used the yellow throughout this, along with some of the cut-aparts. Of course, if you were doing for a boy, you might not want to put this little cut-apart in and use something else. But I just did some cutting of some of the little animals and glued them on, make it really cute. Down here is the magnetic envelope we make together. And what I did was I just stuffed this full of leftovers. So whoever gets this album, there's a lot of animal stuff in here. There's pinks, there's some blues, there's a boy, just a bunch of little things that they can do to decorate. So this is quite thick, as you can see. So I'm going to get all that back in there. Moving on to the next page, this is magnetic and it's a strap and it holds your fold-outs so that they don't keep flipping out when you turn the pages. And you just open it up, and this is just all easy photo placement, and you can tuck back behind there. This flips up and this flips out, and wonderful space to put photos. Okay, over here we have a large fold out, and this is about 6 by 6. It's a very large one. Fold it out and you can place your photo, and then there's a large pocket going this way, and you can just kind of fill it up with whatever it is that you would like to use. It just slides back in there. Okay, back here is a super large spaced out pocket, meaning you can put plenty of folders or picture mats back there, and I just made this folder. Next page. So on this one we have a little magnetic strap to hold your fold out down. Just kind of comes undone. Here is a little fold out, and you can place your photo here and here. It folds out this way, and we have a large pocket. And the balloon is a tuck area, so you can get some larger picture mats or smaller ones. You can even place a photo right here. Over here, what we have is a folder, and it's magnetic. And back behind is just a very large pocket. And what I did was I made some folders. You open it up and you can place your photographs. Going on to the last two pages now, we have a double, like, crisscross pocket here. And it will hold quite a bit. And we make this one in the tutorial together. And then this one I did with some leftovers. And I didn't put any colored cardstock in some of these, so I just left them white. But as I was saying, it's a crisscross, meaning you can stuff little things up front, kind of layer it in, and in the back. So kind of like that. So whatever it is you would like to do. The last page I left alone, so easy picture placement. This would be a good one to place your 12-month-old photograph. And that is what we are making today. And it looks like I need to put these away. So if you have any questions, please feel free to comment under the video. And I hope you enjoy making this as much as I did. Let's move into the materials list. So for this album, we're going to need the Heartfelt Creations Tender Moments collection. And there are 24 double-sided sheets in that, and it's a 12 by 12 size, and that's all we're going to need. This is such a beautiful collection, and I've already taken papers out and all that, but just to give you a look inside, just beautiful. There's pinks and blues, and there's other colors, but the artwork is just amazing. So you can go either with the girl or the boy, or you can do a mix-up. And I'm going to be doing a mix-up and trying to arrange these so that perhaps it can go either way for a girl or boy. I am going to be using 12 by 12, the American Crafts, and this is 80-pound cardstock, and I'm using white. We're going to need Tyvek. And Tyvek is just a material that is very hard to tear, and it's for our binding, so that in case something happens to your album, the spine does not detach from your covers. Alright, this is a large album, and you're going to need 2 or 3 pieces of 12 by 12 chipboard. Now, 2 of them are going to be for the 10 by 10 size that we'll be cutting down, and that's on the pre-cutting and scoring guide, and you definitely want to download the free copy of that. Anyway, so 2 of these for the covers. Now, if you do not have scrap chipboard in your stash, that is at least 2.5 inches by 10 inches for our spine. That's where a 3rd piece of chipboard is going to be needed. I'm going to be using some lace in here, and I've got a yard of the 1-inch lace, and this is called flower lace. It's very pretty. I won't be using any die cut trims in this, so this is going to be for some trim work, and the lace just comes out really pretty on some of these albums. Now I'm also going to be using a yard of this beautiful lace, and it's a 2-inch lace, and we call this Fancy Flower. And I've got 1 yard of this, and this is 2 inches, and this is called the Flower Drop. Okay, So I got about a yard of that. Now look in your stash. This is where you're going to save a lot of money by remnants of pieces that maybe you've cut for other tutorials, but that is going to save you some money there, because you don't have to have exact lace that I have. Okay, flat back pearls, and I'm going to be using an Ivory Fancy adhesives. So I've got my art glitter glue, and there's no glitter in it, and this is my clear glue that I will be alternating in, using it quite a bit. I am going to use the Beacon fabric tack. Now this is for my lace, and that works really good at grabbing your lace and getting it down quickly. If you don't have that, this will work. I've used this for years in the past. It just takes a little more glue, and it takes a little more time to glue down. I'll be using a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 inch score tape. So if you have some extra left over from another tutorial, grab it. For the spine, I will be using the Tim Holtz Baroque frames. Now in this pack, you will get 2. We only need 1, and you'll have an extra one for another. You're going to need a couple packs of magnets. Now we aren't going to use 2 full packs. You will have a half pack left over for another project. You'll want some solid colored cardstock for your picture mats, and there's a couple places in the album tutorial where I call out to cut some. You're going to want 2 pieces of the clear 12 by 12 plastic. Now I'm using flowers, and it's completely optional, but I went into leftover die cuts and grabbed some out of my stash. So that's what I'll be doing if I use some flowers here and there for the cover. As far as ink colors for the flowers, I'll be using Memento Summer Sky, the Tim Holtz Distress Inks, Squeezed Lemonade, Spun Sugar, and for any leaves, it will be the Peeled Paint and Crushed Olive. Inside my flowers, I am using Prills. This is Lemon Chiffon, but they have pink, they have blue, they have like blues and pinks, a variety of different colors on my website that choose from. I'm just going to go with this. Glossy accents I will be using, and all this is going to do is glossen up my flowers, but most importantly, it will stiffen them up. And I'll be using these die cuts, and these are just on 65-pound paper because they're easier to shape and maneuver. If you need a flower shaping tutorial, if you're new to flower shaping and inking, I just put one out. It's called Beginner's Flower Shaping 2020, and you can just type in the search bar on YouTube for that, Shellie Geigle Flower Shaping 2020, and that will pop up. It's very simple. And I'll be using similar inking techniques for that. I'm going to be using a 1/8 inch white ribbon. White goes with everything. You can use blue or pink or whatever you'd like, but it's just a ribbon. Things that you're going to need for the tutorial: you'll want a pencil and eraser, you'll need a craft knife, scissors, your bone folder or scoring tool, you'll need a scoring board and a paper cutter, and you'll want a little cutting mat. Let's move on to assembling the album. Album assembly. We're going to start in by going over our pre-cuts. Again, this is all on your pre-cut and scoring guide. What we have here is 2 pieces of 10 by 10 chipboard, and we labeled them cover. We have a 2.5 by 10 inch chipboard spine. For our cardstock, what we have are 3 pieces that are 9.5 by 10 and 1/8. Now what we did was we laid these down on our scoring board, so we were 10 and 1/8 inch across. On each one of these, we scored them at 5/8 inch on all 3. We next had a 5 by 9.5 piece of white cardstock, And we called that our inner spine cover. We had two pieces that were 9.5 by 9.5, and we just called these our inner covers. We had two pieces that were 12 by 12, and we just called these our album wrap. We had a 2.25 by 12-inch piece, and we labeled that album wrap. Two pieces of Tyvek, and they are 1.5 inches by 10 inches. And by the way, if you're cutting on your Tyvek and you get a seam, it isn't going to hurt anything. If you'd like to dab a little glue under there and then burnish that down, that's fine too. But these were 1.5 by 10 inches. Let's begin with getting our album together. The first pieces that we want to work with are our two 12 by 12 album wrap and our 2.25 inch by 12-inch album wrap. We're going to get into our 1/4 inch score tape here. With your 1/4 inch score tape, what you're going to do on one of your 12 by 12s is off to the right hand side, right along that edge without going over. We're just going to lay a piece of our score tape. Anytime you lay score tape, you'll want to burnish it down to get all the air out from underneath your adhesive. And what that does for you is when you get the air out from underneath, it's going to help so that it does not come up later. If you get air trapped under there, what happens is it may start to spread and dry out the tape, and then you may get liftage. Okay, we'll just set this one off to the side. We're going to grab our other 12 by 12 album wrap, and all we're going to do with this is come on over to this side, the left hand side, and get the edge. And we'll burnish that down too. Okay, I'm going to cut off any overhang that I have. Now this is a helpful tip that you may want to get something with a flat edge on it. And by that, I'm going to grab my cutting board. I'm not going to cut this, I'm just going to use this edge. So the first one I want is the album wrap with the score tape off to the right hand side. And I need my little tool, which I don't know where it is. So I'm going to try to get this up. I broke my nails, so it's going to be kind of hard there. Okay, so I'm going to lay this up flat against this little board, this little guide here. I'm going to take my 2.25 by 12-inch album wrap, and I'm going to press that up against the board too, so it's flat up there, and that will help me. And I'm going to get it right over that score tape. If you get it off a little bit, it's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world, but you want to try and get that on straight. We're going to grab our other one, and I'm just going to slide this right underneath so I can stay straight. I'm going to take off the score tape backing off this side. Okay, so I broke some nails, and then I attempted to trim the rest up, and I did a horrible job. So I have no nails. I need to find my little craft knife to help me. Okay, same thing. I'm going to place this up straight up against this so they're all straight, and I'm just going to bring this until it just comes over that score tape. And I can get this out of the way now. And we're going to burnish. Alright, so we're going to start with our chipboard. Now notice that if you were to place this down, your seams will be on the inside of this if you were to center it, and that's what you want. So we are going to get our pencil out because I find that this is easier for placement. Let's see if this has any lid. Okay, the idea here is to first get it centered. Like I said, my seam is right here and right here. Now I'm going to move this until I have a good inch here and here. And once that is straight, which I think it's fairly straight there, I'm going to draw around this. And all this is going to do, you can skip this if you would like, but for me it's easier because when I get the adhesive on here, I know exactly where this goes. So I have that drawn out. All right, so I'm going to set this off to the side. Let's grab one of our chipboard covers and I'm going to lay it down. But you need your ruler for this because we need a space in between. So I've got my ruler here and I'm just going to put this to where I think it's even top and bottom with this piece. And I'm going to measure out 1/4 of an inch from that. And I think I got that pretty straight. And we're going to draw. And this is just a guide for you. I like doing this because, like I said, it is so much easier to place these when you can see where it goes. So that is what you have. I'm just going to move that right on over. You're going to grab your other cover and you're going to measure out 1/4 inch as well. And I'll just put a little mark there and try to get that straight with the other. And we're going to draw around this one, I think. Okay, all done. We're going to set this off to the side and we're going to start placing our score tape. I'm going to use 1/4 inch. And what I'm going to do is go along the edges here of my piece on all of these. And all I'm going to do is go all the way around the edges like a picture frame with my score tape. Now you don't have to wrap it around the edge. Sometimes when you wrap around the edge it can ball up a little for you. So if it's just as easy, you can just tear it off like that. So let's get all of our pieces ready. I have all 3 of my pieces with the score tape around the edges. Let's start with the spine. We're going to go one down the middle here, and we'll go one on each side of that. And what we'll do is when we're done putting all our score tape down, we're going to burnish that down really good. Okay, the larger ones are going to need more because they're larger pieces. We'll start in the middle here. We'll go down and we're going to put 3 pieces on each side of this. So I think I'll start in the middle over here between that and then in between. A little tip about score tape is you'll want to wash your hands to free it up of any lotion. Oils and lotions on your hands when you're touching the score tape, which is almost impossible for me not to, doesn't do well with the score tape. It will lessen the adhesive. So I'm just going to come on over to this one and do the same thing. And you do not need to get your lines exactly straight because mine are not. Just need to make sure that we do the best we can. We put all the time in these, all the love we put into building these, and it's better safe to be sorry. Just make sure that you get the score tape on as best you can and enough of it. So now we're just going to take a moment and get that score tape burnished down. Sometimes you can even hear the score tape crackling, especially on paper. And what that crackling is when you're smoothing it out is you're getting the air bubbles out from underneath. Alrighty, it is time. Let's grab our piece. We're going to start with the spine, and I am going to get my tool out to help me with this. I cannot find my craft tool, so I'm going to use this little thing. A lot of you use this anyway. But I'm just going to get this backing off of here. Alright, so you see your lines of pencil, and down below we're just going to put that right on in there. Looks good. Now what we're going to do is make sure you don't place this up against. You have to have that space for the wrapping. And we're going to place it. Make sure you are even. As even as you can anyway. Okay, I'm going to slide this down. And we'll get this back one on. And get that lined up, and we're going to place it. Okay, we're going to flip this over now, and we're just going to burnish. Looks like I've got some pencil marks on my thing. I'm just going to erase those up. I think I need to clean my table. I think I got some lead down on that. Okay, next is our Tyvek. Let's grab, I think I'm going to use my 3/8 inch for this. You can use whatever you want, but just my choice. All we're going to do with this is we're going to come over to the left hand side, and we're going to place this score tape. Now Tyvek will want to wrinkle up on you and stuff, just smooth it back out. And I'll come over to the right, get that side. I think I'll just do one. Grab my 1/4 inch. I think what I'm going to do for this is just lay 2 1/4 inches in there. I think it'll be okay. With each album I do something a little different, but I'm just going to place that right to the left side next to this one, and then I'll lay one right on over there. And I'm not going to worry about that gap in between. That has nothing. Alright, we're going to do that. Same thing with this one. Now one thing is if your Tyvek is not quite 10 inches tall, it's okay. Sometimes we do some cutting on our Tyvek, and the ones I sell I think are 10 inches by 13 or 14 wide, and it's okay. As long as you get the majority of it, it'll be just fine. Alright, before I take the backing off, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We'll remove the score tape backing, and you see the gussets? We're just going to evenly place this so there's equal on each side and up. And like I said, if you're a little short, you can always maneuver that to where you have a little short here and here. Mine was not quite 10 inches, so that's okay. I'm going to get the majority of that. There we go. So our first one, trying to get as even as possible. If you get this on crooked, that's okay too, because it does get covered up. And press. And you can probably see that little gusset in there show up. We're just going to burnish a little. Okay, same thing for over here, guys. Let's get this together so we can then move on to the decorating of the outside and playing with our beautiful paper. Alright, we'll iron that down a little bit. So the next thing I want us to do is start working the sides so that it's not so tight. So what I like to do is just kind of use my hand and gently fold it up, just a little bit to help it. Take your tool and we are going to go along the edge, just like that. Now, if you're using one of these, do not use the sharp pointy end. You can tear your paper. You might want to use and feel with your fingers, make sure that this is round and smooth. There's no little shards of plastic. You can use that side to help you. So once you have it like that, then you can kind of just help it more by combing it over. And that just helps release some of the fibers so it's not so tight. We'll do the same on this side over here. This just helps so you don't get the splits on the side. And sometimes we get the splits anyway, and usually it shows up on seams. And I will show you. I may get them, and I may not. But either way, I will show you what you can do for that. Okay, now we're going to do the top, and it's just kind of use your hands to carefully help it along, especially because we got seams up there. And take your time, there's no rush. As you can see, I'm just kind of working slowly across there with my hands. Okay, we're going to take our tool now and just help it. Okay, I'll push that back out and we will work with this. Alright, now that we got that done, let's grab our 3/8 inch score tape. And the first thing is, you see where your chipboard is, the edge and the white paper. We're just going to go right along on the white paper all the way around this piece. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way around the outside edge. Now, one thing with this is this part does get cut off at an angle, so you really don't have to go all the way to the tip. Alrighty, got all mine down. Let's burnish. Especially around those little seam areas. All of it. Now we clip. Now we clip at an angle here so that it's easier for us to wrap in on the corner. If we did not, we'd have too much bulk. And if you cut it straight at the corner, right where that tip is, then you will have black tips hanging out. So that's why we're going to cut this. And I'm going to show you really quick. I'm going to bring this up. Here's the corner of my chipboard. I'm going to come out 1/8 of an inch and cut that at an angle. Now you don't have to fool around with how far of an angle or whatever. Just clip it at an angle. You should be just fine. And I'm going to do it up here and on the other corners as well. Just kind of eyeball that. And I think I got 1/8 there. I may have a little more than 1/8 on that side. So. And we have our clips. Alright, don't jump ahead. If this is the first time, don't just wrap, because we do have to fold in our corners. So I'm going to start with folding in the sides for this. I'll start with over here. And we're not going to pull it over tight. We've already had it to where it will, when we used our tool. We're just going to let it come over. And we're going to press. And once you have that, now you can burnish that. We'll do that over here too. I'm just going to fold that in and press. Okay, so I'm going to release the score tape down here. We're going to tuck it and fold. So there's two ways you can do this. You can do this with your nail down here in the corner. You can just kind of press it in like this to where it indents in there. Okay, you can do it like that. Or down here, you can grab your tool and you can just come around the edge there, just like that. And you can do it that way. Whatever is easiest for you. Now, once you have that tucked in, you can now, and I like to start here, but you can start at any place you want, but just in sections. Just kind of press, press, and press. So I've got that all pressed down. Now, you may get some beveling up on the edges, and that's where your tool comes in, and you just press it down. Okay. And there you have it. Alright, I'm going to flip this around and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Come around the edge. Come around the edge. And work it. By pressing. Alright, let's burnish that down. Okay, splits. If you get the splits down here from where your seam is, make sure your hands are clean. But what you can do is there will be some shards sticking up. All you have to do is dab a little glue, not much. That's quite a bit here, and you're just going to tap it in. And that's it. You can roll it over. And you're going to let that dry. Okay? That's all you have to do for that. And don't continuously. This will dry fairly quickly, so just kind of get it down and then let it dry, leave it alone. Okay? We'll let that dry, but that's how you take care of that. if you have major splitting, and I mean coming at the sides, top, bottom, that's where you can use some wider ribbon and just tack it all the way around. We are ready to start getting some more of our pieces down, but just make sure that you burnish down really good all the way around your album. Our next step is to grab our 5 by 9.5 inch inner spine cover. And I'm just going to set this off to the side and grab some of my score tape. Boy, everything seems to be shifting around here. And on the side that I actually wrote on, I will be placing my score tape. I'm going to use 3/8, but I'm going to go all the way around this first, like a picture frame, and then I'm just going to lay strip by strip next to each other until it's covered. This piece is very important. It's what our inner page hinges will be adhering down to, so you want to make sure that it is completely covered. Once we have this completely covered, we're definitely going to be burnishing, and that is something I may not say burnish down in the tutorial, but remember, anytime you use score tape or even your glue for that matter, you'll want to burnish. And I found my craft knife, so that's a good thing. So before I remove the score tape backing, I'm going to show you, might be easier. But when I lay this piece down, you'll notice it's going to be shorter from your chipboard wrapping. And that's what we want. But when we place this, we're going to place this evenly over that spine. And it will cover the sides of the Tyvek. But most importantly, that head space and down here needs to be even for this. And you'll want to make sure that when we place this, it is straight, this piece, across the top, because this is what is going to keep our inner pages, hinges, to help us get them down straight rather than crooked. So we will be reinforcing the page hinges as well as we get going. Now is the time to try and get this on as even as you can and straight with the same amount of headroom. So I'm going to pull this down a little so I don't get my head in the video, but I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. Hopefully I will get it on straight. Looks fairly straight there. And I'm going to place it. And then we're going to burnish that down really good. Perfect. Got that on. Now you may see some grooves, and that's okay. Once we get our inner pages down, it's no big deal. But right now, what we're going to want to do is place your hand on that middle spine, and you'll be able to see where your hinge is just by looking down here and up here. Now we're going to place our hand underneath. We'll slide it down so it's right in the middle, and we will slowly pull this up. And the reason why I use score tape is because it adheres down. I don't like using glue on this piece because sometimes glue does not spread evenly, and when you pull up the sides you may get bubbling up. And we want to make sure that this is smooth. If you see you did not get your score tape burnished down in certain places, when you do that, just burnish it down now. And that looks good. Now you don't want to pull it all the way over. You'll tear out your sides because books are not meant to do that, but you can come up about this far. Your album will be stiff to start, and that's like with any new book, so it will loosen up a little. Not too much, but enough. Alright, so I've got that. That looks great. We are now going to grab our 3 inner pages, and I'm going to move this off to the side there. And these are the 9.5 by 10 1/8. Okay, so on that score line, we are going to fold, and we are going to burnish it down to where the peak is up. We will do this on each one. did take a moment to clean off my desk with some cleaner because you can see I've got some marks on here from pencil that was left residue on my table. So if you are getting that as well, it's usually time to clean up your desk, especially working with white cardstock. And I imagine I got a little bit here and there. So the 3 inner pieces, the inner pages, we got our peak up. Now for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my 3/8. Now notice where your crease is. When I lay this, I'm going to make sure I'm to the right side of it and not on that crease. And I'm just going to lay a piece of score tape. And then I'm going to alternate over to my 1/4 inch to get that edge. And it will be overlapping. Okay, it's probably right in front of my face. Here it is. And I'll just get that edge over here, overlap over the other. I think I got a prill stuck under there. Alright, once you have that down, we're going to burnish really good. We're going to inspect our piece to make sure we don't have any score tape peeking over the other side because we just don't want that. So there's the peak, there's that. We're going to do the same thing with our other 2. Okay, all 3 pieces have that score tape on. Let's grab our book. So I'm going to show you first how this is going to work. So my peak is down right now, so we have the score tape. If we were to flip it up, looks like this. Notice how this piece, the top, matches that inner spine. Not top to bottom, but the piece we just laid. If you were to lay it down, it should be the same thing. So this is what's going to help us put it in the right spot. And that's why I said it was important that we get this even. So if you were to pull up your first page, remove the score tape and butt that right up against there, line it up with the top and bottom, and press, your first page is going to go in. Very simple. And I am going to get mine down. This is a very simple hinging system that I use all the time, and it stays down and it works for me. So that's how I teach it. Okay, it's up. I'm going to look down here. I'm going to place this all the way over until it hits. Make sure I'm even with the top and bottom. And place. Once you have that down, burnish. And we'll flip it over and we'll burnish down this way. The rest of these are very simple to get in because when I remove the score tape on that, it just butts up next to this one evenly and you press. And then your page should go in straight. Here we go. So top, bottom, get that even, press, it's down. Get this one in. Top, bottom, press. All right, so what we have is our hinges are in and we should be looking pretty good. Perfect. The only two things we have left to do to finish up the album assembly is our two 9.5 by 9.5 inner covers. And where these are going to place is right in here. So it's going to look very nice. So I'm going to set this off to the side, and we're going to get our score tape down on it. You can use your 1/4 inch or your 3/8. I'm just going to use 1/4 inch for this. And I'm going to go all the way around my piece like a picture frame to start. And whatever I do on this one, I'm going to do on the other. Okay, I got that all the way around. I'm going to go one down the middle. And I'm going to go 3 on each side. Because this is going to go down, and then our decorative paper goes over it, part of it at least, and we just don't want it to pull up because we have some weight on our page 1. And we're going to place the score tape the same way on this one. And it matters not, it's the same 9.5 by 9.5. So you can just start. If you wrote on yours, place your score tape on the side that has the writing. And if you don't place your score tape on the side with writing, it will get covered up with your decorative paper. I do try to make these tutorial albums to where there is wiggle room for some error. So we are ready. Okay, so this is fairly easy to get down because you'll be matching it up the top with the top of that inner spine cover, and then it will flow pretty nicely. So get this all off. Okay, so here is the top and the bottom of that inner spine cover. Now be mindful of where your hinge is because you want to stay away from that. But I'm first going to place the bottoms on that, and I'm just going to come over, and I'm far enough away from that. And I'm going to try and place this evenly. Well, that looks pretty nice. It's kind of a finished look to this. We'll flip to the back. Remove the score tape. Be mindful of where your hinge is for your book. And we will do the same thing. Place it and burnish it down. In my tutorials, I do start off pretty slow so that beginners can do this without getting too stressed out from going too fast. We do pick up the pace a little bit later on, but that's after you've learned how to make pockets a couple times or placing your fold out on, but we do it together. But we do start off slow so that everyone has an opportunity to understand. So I'm going to do that again. Now, one thing is if you get yours on just a little bit off crooked, the chances are you're not even going to be seeing that, because once we place our decorative paper down, I don't think that you're going to really even notice something like that. All right, right now our album is done. Look at that. That was because I did not clean up my desk. Shame on me. All right, so I accidentally got a prill stuck under here, so there's a little indent, but once I place my paper, it'll be just fine. And rule of thumb is, and I need to practice what I preach, when working with any book, whether it's white or whatever, just make sure you are clean of any debris. Your prills, they seem to escape and roll off on the thing and can get stuck underneath and you won't even know it. So just do your best there. So this is our album, and it's looking pretty darn good. We're now on to decorating the outside of our album. We are on to decorating the outside of the album. So as with any tutorial that I do, I want to ask you to make 2 piles. They're going to be our scrap pile for our decorative paper, and then you'll have a pile of any leftover white cardstock. And I call those our reserve pile. It just helps from getting overwhelmed from throwing everything in one pile when you're done. And also, you will, if we have any small clippings that are skinny, even small like this, or even a little sliver, I would like you to keep those. We do use our scraps to make the most of our paper, and you never know when we're going to need it. Another thing of my tutorials is the decorative paper is not, the cuttings are not on the pre-cutting list because we cut these together so that to make sure that you get the same results that I do. So the first sheet that we're going to use is for our cover, and in your paper pack you will find this gorgeous print, and on the back it looks like this. First thing we're going to do is take off that trim piece. So I'm going to bring my paper cutter out so that we can make our first cuts together. So my blade is over here, right about here, and we're just going to take that off. Now these in particular don't have any decorative prints on it. You can throw these away. And with my tutorials, I try to stay consistent on how to tell you to cut. So I always try to start from the left and tell you to measure over this way and then cut. Rather than having you cut up, down, all over the place, it's more of a consistency and you'll know what to expect. So for this particular one, we are going to turn our paper sideways because we're going to start cutting this way. These are off to the side, looking like this. We're going to measure over 9 7/8 inch and cut. So I'm going to get that on there, 9 7/8. This piece, our leftover, anything that comes off the right hand side is going to be in your reserves, unless I tell you to hold off on that. So this is absolutely adorable, and I'm having a very hard time figuring out which way I want to cut into this. So really quick, I'm going to grab my ruler and see where I end up. And I think we'll just look at it like this. We'll measure over 9 7/8 inch and we will cut. And Mr. Raccoon, we will just stick him off into our reserves, and this is what we should have. If you were to grab your album and just lay this down here, you will notice that that will give you a nice white border around your piece, and it looks really clean. And we are going to flip this over and we're going to apply our score tape. Now we don't have any side clasps or closures over there, so we don't really have to go too much on the sides, other than we're going to go around like a picture frame. I always say that, like a picture frame. I guess that's my thing to describe what I want you to do. But we're just going to kind of go around. And again, you do not have to wrap yours around the edges like that. You can get some bubbling up or extra thickness of your score tape over there. It doesn't bother me. I usually get mine smoothed down, but you can tear off when you hit the ends. Okay. Next thing, we're going to go one down the middle. And we're going to go 2 on each side. So I'm just going to space those out. If you have any score tape that peeks over the side of your album, or of your paper, you'll definitely want to clip that off, because if there is any of that stickiness hanging over the side over time, dust will accumulate on it and make it look dirty. Let's burnish. Alrighty, so this is a very large area to cover, and sometimes it's very hard to get this on straight. So I'm going to show you really quick a trick after I get my score tape backing off. And it involves your glue, to give you a little time for maneuvering before you get this down, because score tape is not forgiving and we don't want it to be. But what you can do is dab some glue like up in the corner, or just dot across here, so that when you start to lay this, if you get it on, you still have a moment to maneuver it. If you start with the top, you can do it on all four corners. So I'm just going to try and get this on even as I can and place it. Now I'm just going to open this up, lay it down, and burnish. And if you wrap your score tape around the corners like I do, just make sure you get those corners down. That's all I do. And you may hear my Roomba going back round. He's a noisy little guy sometimes, but I do have to vacuum every day. I have 3 dogs, and it really helps with keeping the hair under control. So there is our cover. It looks absolutely amazing. We're going to get cutting for the back side of this. I'll put that off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this, and on the back it is this. Let's take off that trim piece. Okay, we're going to look at it like this, and all we're going to do is turn it sideways. We'll measure over 9 7/8 inch and cut. We'll place this piece in reserve. It's excellent. We have these little characters down here. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to measure over 9 7/8 inch and cut. You should still have the girl up here, so that'll go in reserves. And this is ready to go on the back side. We're going to do the same thing. We'll place our score tape all the way around like a picture frame, 1 down the middle and 2 on each side, and we will place this. So I'm going to get ready with my score tape. If I run out of the 1/4 inch, I will be going for the 3/8. Since there's a lot of paper to cover, if you have an extra 1/4 inch, you can have that ready to use. 1/4 inch is usually a little less expensive than the 3/8, and definitely a lot less expensive than your 1/2 inch wide ones. And that's why I choose to use the 1/4 inch usually for placing it on the back of my decorative paper. Another way you can do this is open up your book and lay it down and kind of look to see if you were even up here on getting that one on there. Trying to keep it even because we do have something to go on our spine. Okay, I'm going to set this off to the side. We're going to get ready to get our paper for the spine. Remember the cute little raccoon? We had this in our reserves. On the back, it looks like this. This is going to be perfect. Now, one thing, if you were to hold this up, you will notice that on the sides, you will have, if you center that side by side, you will have more white border on each side. And we are going to place it like that, but we can also fix those sides so that it works for us by using a little lace or anything we want. So all I'm doing is going around the back of this like a picture frame. Now we do have the Tim Holtz Baroque frame that is going to sit on this. So what we're going to do is go one down the middle there. And if we go one on either side, just kind of spaced out, it should be perfectly fine for when we do glue that frame. It won't pull up our paper from anything. Okay, so it can be, you might want to adopt some glue on there for maneuvering, but it can be very deceiving sometimes when you go to lay it down laying flat, because sometimes it's hard to see where it is your hinges are. So just do the best you can. I'm going to try and line that up, getting it even on the sides and straight. If I get a little more over off to one side, it's okay. Which I think I probably did, but it's okay. Definitely okay. What we're doing here. Okay, let's see here. So I'm not too far off, but I have a little more white over here. I'm going to set this off to the side. And I think that this one, the 1 inch, will be nice to use, I think. And where are my scissors? You can still see this little guy. You can always cut back your lace too if you don't like that. Or here's another thing. We can go like that and wrap it around. And you know what? I think that may be a good choice too. So I am making this as we go, and you will get an opportunity to maybe see inside my head what I'm thinking, but we could also go like this and wrap it over. And I think we might do that. So let's cut 2 pieces, and I'm just going to line it up with my decorative paper and cut that. There's one. And I'll just use this as my guide here. Cut another one. See how this comes out. I think any way that you decide to do this, it's going to be cute. Now, if your lace has a little bit of threadiness, I clip that off. If I was going for more shabby chic, I might leave that because that kind of goes right along in there, just kind of, or distressed books, I would definitely leave that. But for me, I'm going to clean mine up a little by clipping off those little threadies. Oh, I think that's good enough. Okay, the glue that I'm using is going to be the Beacon Fabric Tack. So before you apply your glue, make sure your lace looks correct, and we're just going to get it right on the edge here of our front of our album to start. And I don't have any acetone, but a couple viewers kind of gave a tip that when you get clogged on this or it gets too goopy, you can put a little acetone there and it will clean that right up. I might have to go into my husband's hobby room here and get some. He uses acetone quite a bit with his model making and stuff. I'm just going to tap this down. Get there a minute. And most importantly, make sure I get straight. That looks good. Okay, once you have that down, we can glue down the rest. And honestly, all I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to put some right here, especially right where it bends over the side. And then I can always clean up anything that kind of goes places it shouldn't be. All right, here we go. Roll that over. So far, so good. Oh, I think that looks quite beautiful, and I think that that's going to work for us. Okay. There's that. Now I'm going to get this side. And after I'm done with this, I'm definitely going to go wash my hands. Some sticky stuff. But it does work good. I will say that. The art glitter works well too. The only thing with that is that it will absorb first into your lace. You might have to use a little more, and you may have to hold it down a little longer. And in some cases, I use my little clamps or binder clips to do something about that. So I'm just going to tap it. I think it looks good. I hope you can see that. I'm going to set this off to the side to let that dry. I'm going to go wash my hands, and then we're going to get ready for the little Baroque frame. In your paper pack, it's the last page in there, is the tags and sentiment sheet. On the back, it is green. What we're going to do is try to keep this all together and just take what we need so it's easier to find in our reserves. So I'm just going to what I'm after is to get this tag out. So I'm just going to cut in and maneuver around it until I can get it. Now for this, you don't have to scallop around, you just need to get your piece. Whoops, and I'm going to put this in my reserves. Here is your frame. Place it over, it should reach side to side, and we'll bring it till this bottom part is hidden. And kind of maneuver it to where you can see a little bit of each one. That elephant is so stinking cute, I love it. I'm going to kind of turn mine just a little bit to kind of make it even. Okay, so that's what mine looks like. I'm going to hold it in place, and I'm going to just cut around just like that. So now all I need to do is put some glue, just a little bit. And I will place this. And then I can kind of shimmy it around how I want it. And I think it's right like that. And I can can still see part of the deer. I'm going to lay this out, and it's going to get glued down right there. So make sure you get the back of your paper there around the edges so it sticks. And I think right about there. One thing I do recommend is getting some, if you have some binder clips, larger ones that can get there without ruining your hinges. Or like I like is these. They're little ratchets, and I'm just going to bring that in to hold it down until it can dry. And I will give that some time. I think I got that on pretty straight. I do. So I'm going to give that a moment to dry. I am going to press on the inside because that will help. All right, let's finish up on the cover. Mine is completely dry. All right, let's get some pieces out here. And what you're going to want to do is cut in the way I do so that we can save the rest of this for other things. But the first thing you're going to find in your paper pack is this print. And on the back is this adorable print with all the little animals. So the first thing we're going to do is let's just take off that trim piece. Okay. Let's take our scissors. You see where the little raccoon is? We're just going to kind of come in and weave around him to start. Just like this, without getting on the other. We're going to come up between the elephants, and we're going to cut over and around this and up. So this is what you're going to get. This piece, for now, let's put in our reserves. The next piece is this one. It's the girl side print, and on the back it's this. So what we're going to do on this one is we're going to come in under the balloon. Well, you'll want to take off the trim piece first, but this is what we want to do. We want to come in under the balloon, and we're just going to curve around it, come in between the other balloon there, and straight up. And I'm going to take off my trim piece really quick. And I'm going to take off the trim piece on this before it goes in reserves. I just like to make sure that I get the trim pieces off. So this will go back in our reserves. Now, while you're in your reserves, you will find this piece. It has the yellow lamb on it, and it's blue. What you're going to want to do is we're just going to go straight up between those lambs. And we'll put this back in our reserves for now. We'll put this back in reserves. Okay, let's start by cutting around each of these images. And I'll show you what I have. Now, one thing on the balloons is once we get it cut out, I'll show you what we need to do next. I have my balloon all cut out, and you'll want to make sure that your craft knife, the blade, is newer, not dull. So once you have this out, this is where you're going to carefully cut with your knife to get these pink pieces out as well as in here. So I'm going to do this really quick, and I will show you what your final piece should look like. when you're done cutting out your balloon with your craft knife, this is what you will have. Very cute. So let's continue on and get the rest of our stuff cut out. The next thing you're going to want to do with your balloons, and it will stiffen them up just a little bit, is you're going to want to glue it down to a piece of your white cardstock, and you'll want to burnish. And make sure you get the glue underneath the little rope area. And then once you do that, you're going to cut out and around, leaving a little bit of a white border. And you'll use your craft knife in there. And it really wasn't that hard. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But I want to show you that when you place this down, it has a little bit of a white background. It really pops this out as a dimensional rather than just laying it flat down. I think it looks really clean, and it does stiffen up. So that is one thing I'm going to do with this other one. And it's totally up to you if you'd like to do that or not too. So here are our pieces. And we're going to get, if I can get this camera to stop shaking. Okay, the first one is the raccoon. And all we're going to do is kind of tack him in. I put a little glue down here. But he is just going to tack right back behind here, like that. Isn't that cute? For the elephant, what we're going to do, and we can put a little dab right at the base of his tail, just under here. Now we're going to slide this to where the tail goes back behind that first rope on the inside. And don't put any glue behind his head because we have the lamb who's going to stack behind him. So I just kind of have one of his little feet there. Now the lamb's going to go back up behind. And then we can add glue in between once you get that. Let's grab our album really quick so I can kind of show you what we're doing here. And I'm going to put something underneath to try and prop this up. So what's going to happen is the pink's going to go here, and then the blue's going to go here, slightly overlapping. I think that would look really cute on there. Don't glue it down yet. But the lamb is going to sit right back here so that we can put something right here. So he's kind of stacked behind in here. And I think that looks cute. Because the ears are so big on the elephant, and I wanted the elephant towards the front, and I didn't want him to get lost in the background with a lot of the blues or minty colors. So that is how that's going to play out. So now that you have your lamb where he needs, you can get some glue behind his ears to get him down, and some of Mr. Elephant. Oh, it's so cute, stinking cute. God, I love it. And I'm just going to tack some on behind the raccoon. Just a little bit. That's all you need. So that is our two pieces. So I'm going to have this one kind of off at an angle, kind of pushed up this way, and he's going to go right here. So I'm just going to kind of situate how I feel that that would look on our thing. And I think I got a winner right there. So I'm going to glue this one down, and I can see where I want it. Make sure you get those back side of those ropes, and you can always clean up some of the glue that might squirt out if you get too much. So I think I had this one like that. Okay, I'm going to hold this up for a second so that I can get this. That is cute. So I am going to be adding some lace, and as you can see, I have a scalloped and over here. All I did was on the one lace that I'm using, it had scallops. So I cut the scallops off, and then the rest that was left over here goes here. And that's all there is. So I'm going to glue that down. You may want to cut the lace at an angle so that it will fit nicely with the curve over there. Just thought it would add a little bit. This collection is so cute. I am really having a hard time choosing what I want to do because everything is so stinking cute. It's like, oh, I want to use that. I want to use that, you know. So I think that that makes good use of one small piece of lace. In your reserves, you will have this tag and sentiment sheet. On the back, it's green. We're just going to come right in from the side here and carefully cut out Welcome Baby. Trying not to disturb anything else. Okay, so for this, all I'm going to grab is Welcome Baby out of this. So I'm just going to kind of, and I'm going to put this on my paper cutter so I can get a straight line here and down and around. I don't think I can do this by hand. Maybe I can. I shake, so I guess I can try. We'll see how straight. Oh yeah, it's not straight. That's all right. I'll just try to work with this now. Okay, so we have Welcome Baby there. And we're going to grab some scrap white cardstock. And where can I find some? Let's see, got a piece right here. Perfect. I'm going to glue this down. And then I'm going to cut out and around it, leaving a white border. And that will clean up the little sentiment a little bit. So Welcome Baby right here. And that will look cute. Okay, this little thing you can just put right in your reserves. The next thing you're going to want to do is make 4 small bows. And I'm just going to grab one, and I'm going to make sure I get back here so the bow does not come undone. Get enough on there. And we're going to stick them at each corner of the balloon. I think that's cute. And we'll give that time to dry too. Right up here. And then over here. So if you need to pause that video to catch up here with me, do so. But I think that's so cute. I couldn't resist. I saw bows, so. Alright, I'm going to pull mine up to see what you're seeing. That is so darn cute. So this is the point at which you can choose if you would rather do baby girl or baby boy or just baby. I'm going to do just baby, but what we're going to do is in your reserves we'll grab this back out. And here is baby girl. And we're just going to kind of cut this out carefully. This whole thing. Okay, you can also cut out baby boy at this point. Even if you're not doing a boy, you probably should, so we have all the same leftover pieces and there's no confusion. Now, please review the video in the beginning showing the beginning of part 1 here, showing what I did as far as how I coordinated the papers. Now you can always change it up and go and just follow the design and do what you want. But what you can do is, if you already know it's a baby girl, what you can do is cut out and around this piece, or cut out and around this. And then what you can do is lay it down to white cardstock and cut around, and then you can place it. You can place it like this, you can place it like that. What I'm going to do is kind of switch this up, and I'm going to leave out the girl and boy. So I'm going to cut off girl, put that in my reserves, cut out baby, put the boy in there, and I am going to show you here in just a moment what I will be doing. I've got each one of my letters cut out, and what I'm going to do is alternate B, A, B, Y. Or you can do it the other way, B, A, B, Y. Whichever way you want. I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to show you here. Glue this down to some white cardstock, because that'll help bring it forward. I'm just going to place them right next to each other so that they're touching. Okay, so now that I have that down, I'm just going to cut it, this little piece. It'll be easier for me to cut around this. But and you can just leave it white like this if you want and place it down like that. That would even be cute. But for me, I'm going to cut out and around, leaving a little bit of a white border. Okay, I think that's pretty good. That's good enough. Now for these letters, I'm just going to stick off the side where I won't lose it. But now you can see it kind of sticks out a little bit. And actually right here would look cute, but I do want to do something. So once you have that, you can set that off to the side. Now this was an idea I had, this next part, if you would like to do it. I'm going to get some flat back pearls out. But what I was thinking about doing, you see how the ribbon's there? Is taking my ribbon and just kind of looping it around. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And just kind of scalloping around. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some glue here. Dab some glue here. Here. Give that a moment. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Well, I think that that is cute. and I'm going to go with that. So, and that will flatten down my stuff too. So I'm just going to get some of this on the back and place them. So the baby, you can put baby up here, up the side, you can put baby right here, anywhere that you would like. Now if you have things to pop up the back of your paper, that would be good too, to pop it up. I do have some, but I'm just going to work it like this. So I do have to let this dry a little. Now, one thing is you can prop your book up carefully, not to mash your pages underneath, and place something over these if yours are popping out. Mine seem to be going down pretty good with this fabric tack. Okay, I am going to put 3 flowers on the front. What I did was I had some of this lace that has the little droopies, and I chopped off a piece. And there was also, I had somewhere around here, but one of the little dangles that I clipped off, and I'll save that for something. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this down right here. Oops, that's my glossy accents. That's not what I want. So I'm just going to tuck it back behind this little bow a little bit. There we go. Just off to the side. And because I'm on fabric, I'm going to use this. So I'll start with my little yellow one. And by the way, the yellow one was stamped with the summer sky. So there's the yellow. I'm going to grab the pink. And I'll put that right here. Next to that, and then I'll grab the little blue one. And these are do have the glossy accents on them. I'm just going to arrange them in a little circle, I guess you'd say, a little area. Now my leaves were just kind of like this. I had these left over, and I just chopped them down smaller. So I'm just going to kind of slide that in there if I can. There we go. So I need to let that dry. And I think that that is absolutely adorable. Our cover is done. We may add something back here, but we are now on to page 1, and how we kind of read this is like a book. Page 1, page 2, 3, 4, and so on. Let's move on. We're on page 1, and we're going to go over our pre-cuts for this page. So the first one that we had was an 8.5 by 11. And we labeled that page 1, Baby Info Folder. We laid this on our scoring board, so we were 11 inches across, and we scored at 5.5. Now, if you haven't downloaded the pre-cutting and scoring guide, you'll want to do that to get your pre-cuts ready. All we're going to be doing is just reviewing so we can double check ourselves. The next one was a 6.5 by 9 1/8, and we labeled that page 1, left fold out. We laid this on our scoring board, so we were 6.5 inches across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch, and we scored it at 5/8 inch. 5/8 of an inch. Next, we had a 5.5 by 6 3/4. There's no scoring. We called it page 1, inside pocket. Okay, we cut 2 pieces that were 4 1/4 by 4 3/4. We called it a page 1 inside flip. And on each of these, what we did was we just laid this on our scoring board. We were 4 1/4 across, and we scored it at a 1/2 inch on both of these. We then cut 2 pieces of clear plastic, and it looks like I got scratches on this one. I'm going to recut mine. Anyway, they were both 5 1/4 by 8 inch. The very last sheet of your pre-cutting guide, you will have print this out. There was a note to at least print it out on 65-pound or 80-pound, whatever your printer will take, and that is what you got. And we'll get to cutting this down to the right size in just a moment. I'm going to get this out of our way, and we are going to start getting into our stuff. So, first things first, in your paper pack, you will find this sheet. On the back, it is this. Let's take off that trim piece. Okay, so this is what you should have after taking the trim piece off. And I was recently asked why it is, if I want this to be our main page, but why I cut it on the opposite side sometimes. And the reason why is because I want to make sure that we have the same leftover pieces. So if we were turned around on this, because it's really hard to see which way's what, and we started cutting without looking what was on the back side, we could have part of this gone and only have this, and then later in the tutorial maybe I wanted this. So that is why we do it like that. So we are going to look at our paper like this. Let's measure over 9 1/8 inch and cut. This is what you should have. We're going to stick this in our reserves. Next, what we're going to do is we will turn it sideways. We will measure over 9 1/8 inch and cut. And this is the final piece, and we're going to flip it over. Grab your 6 1/4 by 9 1/8 inch piece. It's our left fold out. And all we're going to do is fold on those score lines. Now there may be some cuts, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, I may have. There may be some cutting of white cardstock that is not on the pre-cutting list. So I may be adding as we go, as my inspiration takes me. Okay, so right now we're going to have our little hinge off to the left. And this is now upside down, so I am going to erase that so it doesn't confuse you. This is our left fold out. Alrighty, so you have 2 score lines. You have an inside score line and an outside. On that outside one, I want you to pinch and crease, and I want you to hook that flap back behind. And you should be even now with the top and the bottom of your base decorated page. Once you have that, hold it in place, hold it down, and I like to place my hand down so it doesn't slip around. If it slips on you, you definitely want to realign yourself. We're going to use our glue for the tacking of our flaps, so we'll just put some down here. And we're going to fold that over, and we're going to burnish that down. Now, immediately after doing that, we're going to want to turn it over, open it up, and make sure no glue has seeped over here because we don't want to glue it down. So I checked mine. I'm pretty good. There's that score line on the outside we can see. We're going to just fold back on that, and then we're going to push until it feels kind of flat on the side. So it should look like that. Okay, we're going to open that up, and we're going to start working on the inside. In your paper pack, you will find this cute little page. On the back, it has the pink. What I want us to do is first take off that trim piece. Then what we're going to do is cut this right in half. And I'm going to show you mine. So when you're done, this is what you should have, and we will be sticking this in our reserves. Once you have this piece, we're going to turn it sideways so the yellow is here. We're going to measure over 9 inches and cut. If you were just to place this down, you will notice that it fits just top and bottom, and if you were to center it, you'd have a little bit of white here and here, and that's what we want. Now we just need to cut it down. We're going to measure over 5 5/8 inch and cut, and I think that's where I want it to be. After making that cut, you will have a long, skinny piece. Please put that in your reserves. Let's double check to make sure that we're going to fit inside this. Now the idea is on that outside score line, we want to stay away from it, because if you get too close or right on it, your fold out isn't going to work properly for you. So I'm just going to place this down, and I'm going to center this top and bottom, and I'm going to leave myself about 1/8 inch away from that hinge, and you still should have some white over here. So now that I've double checked that that's all going to fit, I'm going to pull this aside and I'm going to work on this. The piece that we want is the 5.5 by 6 3/4 inside pocket. And we can grab our 1/4 inch here, score tape, and all I'm going to do is place it along the bottom of this panel here. I'll burnish it down, and this is a wrap style pocket. Okay, I'm going to give this just a little bit of a bend. Now when I place this down at the bottom, I'm going to make sure that there is equal overhang of white cardstock, because that's what we're going to wrap around the back. So I'm going to bring it all the way to the bottom, right there. I'm going to press in the middle, and then I'm going to press out. And what that can do is help push this up a little bit to give you a little more room. Now we're going to burnish. Make sure that air gets out. We'll turn it over, and we're going to fold our flaps back behind. Once you have that, we're just going to glue down these flaps. Oops. And we'll burnish that down. So that is what you should have. Next, we're going to find our decorative paper for that. Pull this back out of your reserves. We're going to turn it upside down. We'll measure over 5 5/8 inch, and we're going to cut that. And this is what you should have. Now when we place this down, it should give you maybe a little bit of a white border here and here, but it's going to be too long. So I'm going to show you a technique, and we're going to flip it over to this side for now. I'd like you to place this down and leave yourself a little bit of a white lip up there of your cardstock. This is called measure to fit, or it's what I call measure to fit. And all we're going to do is come down to the bottom of that pocket where we can see the white, and we'll make a pencil mark where we need to trim this down. So now we see that, we can just cut right on down there. I just call that measure to fit. Okay, so if you were to place this down, let's double check ourselves. That looks good. We're not going to glue that down just yet. We'll just pull that down. Grab your two 4 1/4 by 4 3/4 inside flips. And we're going to fold on those score lines. Use our tool. Okay, so we're going to have a flap off to the left, and we're going to have a flap off to the right. So I'm just going to slide this flap right back behind, and I'm going to center that so that it's the same amount of pink and pink. And I'm going to attach this. Okay, I'm going to do the same over here and line it up so it's even with this other one, top and bottom. And I think I got it where it needs to be. I'll pinch, flip it over, and glue that down, that flap. Okay, so that is what we have. Let's apply glue to the back of this piece and glue it down on our panel, on our front pocket there. We do need to set a magnet, so we will do that in just a moment. Make sure I'm straight up there. I think that's good. And we're going to burnish this down. Okay, let's grab our base page. We're going to apply glue to the back of this, and we're going to place it in this inside panel. Remember, you will be close to an eighth away from up here from that hinge, and your fold out pocket should not be on it. So if you need to maneuver it more over to the left, do so. But we're just going to use glue for this. Looks about right. Okay, once I have that down is when I need to burnish. Make sure all the glue is spread out and it's down. So when it closes, you should have a nice spacing in there. Okay, let's plant our magnet. So I'll show you exactly where I'm going to stick that. Right about here, and I'm going to come in about an inch from the top, inch from the side, and place it. Now what I'd like you to do is close this, and then we're going to flip this over. Whoops. Dogs hear something. I'm going to grab a minus, and I'm just going to place it. It will find the mate on the other side, and we're going to squirt just a little bit of glue under there. And complete this. So now that the glue is under there, sorry about the dogs, but they hear something. Alright, we're going to open that up and find our paper for in here. In your reserves, you will have this piece. It is the small polka dots which we had cut off of this, and you'll want to grab this out of your paper pack as well. We'll need to get into that one. But right now, this piece is approximately 3 inches wide. And what I'd like us to do is make like a nice white frame around this. On the back, it's the pink little hearts. We're going to turn it sideways. And I think it's going to be about 4 1/8. So we're going to measure over 4 1/8 inch and cut. If you were to place it over here, it will make a nice white frame, and we're going to glue that down. Just center it so it looks like it has a nice white frame around it. We'll burnish that and clean up any glue that might spill out. Okay, this one, let's take off that trim piece. Now that we got the trim piece off, what I'd like you to do is cut that right down the middle. You can put the other piece in your reserves. So what we're going to do on this is just measure over 3 inches and cut. And that's what we are working with. We'll turn it, measure over 4 1/8 inch, and cut. This is going to be the same size as this one, so we're going to do the same thing over here. Apply our glue. Now if you know it's for a girl, you can always use the pink side up, but I kind of like the different colors in this. So I think that looks about even, or even enough. In your reserves, you will find this piece. First thing I'd like us to do is cut out this balloon. I'm just going to cut out and around it. We have something fun with this one. So there's one piece. Down here, we're going to cut out one of the lambs and one of these guys. So I'm just going to chop this little piece off. Cut out the little lamb. So there's that. And for now, I'm going to put this back in my reserves. So let's cut out and around each one of these, and this one as well. You're going to need some white scrap cardstock, but on the balloon, what I would like you to do is right above that basket, we're going to cut it in half. Just like that. Now what we can do is cut out and around the ropes and get that ready to go. And I will show you what mine looks like, so I am not just telling you verbally, you can actually see. I'm going to cut this out, making sure I leave the ropes. We're going to make a little picture holder. It's so cute. Now if you accidentally cut off one of your ropes, you can always glue it back behind your piece. Alright, so here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to glue this down, because we do need to stiffen this up a bit, but I also want to transition from the pink. So I'm just going to lay that down. When I cut it out, I will be leaving a small white border of the white cardstock around it. I'm going to be doing the same with these guys. There'll be little tucks as well. And they're fairly simple to cut out, so it's not like it's a horrible fussy cut. Okay. For this one, I'm going to need some larger cardstock because we're going to glue that down as well. And I'm going to cut a piece really quick. I don't seem to have any more large pieces here. This one too. Alright, I'm going to give that a moment to dry. Cut down my cardstock a little, and I'm going to be cutting around this, and you'll want to leave your white border around that as well.